Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, we'll be talking about the Doomsday Glacier, one of the most important glaciers in the Antarctic. Please remember to like and subscribe. Now let's get right into it. Fact 1, also known as the Thwaites Glacier. Generally, when scientists name things, they don't usually name the Doomsday or Armageddon, things like that. They usually give it a proper name. And in this case, this Doomsday Glacier's proper name is Thwaites Glacier, named after Frederick Thwaites, a professor from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. This glacier is named after him for all his contributions to glacial geology. And also, it's not just a glacier. There's a Thwaites ice shelf, and a Thwaites glacier tongue, and a Thwaites iceberg tongue, all named after the same person. You can probably infer that Professor Thwaites made huge contributions, that his name is attached to so many different parts of this glacier and the surrounding areas in the Antarctic. Great, let's get into the next fact. Fact 2, the size of the island of Britain. This glacier is not a joke. This glacier is as big as the island of Britain in the United Kingdom. And as a result, this is why it's called Doomsday Glacier, because of the vast potential impacts that it could have once melted into the sea. Not all ice shelves or glaciers are so large. In fact, the Thwaites Glacier or the Doomsday Glacier is actually a very unusually large and broad glacier in the Antarctic. You can probably guess not many glaciers are the size of a country like the United Kingdom's Britain Island. And so because of the size of this glacier, there are significant impacts to the changing conditions of the glacier. We'll get into it in a little while, but you should know that if the glacier isn't so large, we probably wouldn't have named it the Doomsday Glacier, and it probably would not be named so prominently. In fact, there's a whole scientific council dedicated to the study and research of this particular glacier. Alright, let's get into the next fact. Fact 3, 25-inch sea rise. The 25-inch sea rise is how much the glacier could potentially impact the world if it's completely melted. It could raise the entire sea level around the planet to 25 inches. It's more than 2 feet of water than it currently is today. This is why it's named the Doomsday Glacier, because it is melting rapidly. In fact, at a pace never seen before. And no one really knows why it's accelerated in the melting. Of course, there are hypotheses about global warming and so forth. But the bottom line is, when this glacier fully melts, the entire world would see an ocean level rise of over 2 feet. You can imagine how much impact it would have to all the cities around the world. Because currently, all major cities are actually near the water. If you look at the map, water and harbors are important reasons why those cities were developed in those locations. And now add a 2 feet sea level rise to it, you can imagine how much devastation you can have to those cities. Okay, let's get into the next fact. Fact 4, there's a cave underneath. Another problem that the Thwaites Glacier or the Doomsday Glacier has is that there's a huge cavity underneath the glacier. And if you think about it, if the glacier was a massive piece of solid ice, it'll probably melt a lot slower, because you can imagine how much energy and temperature is required to melt a thick several hundred feet of ice. The problem with the Doomsday Glacier is that there's a huge cavity underneath it. That cavity is filled with simply seawater and air. So therefore, it is so much easier for this glacier to be completely melted, because there's actually not too much ice in terms of the depth that the glacier has. This could be another reason why the glacier is melting at such a rapid pace that people are so worried. And I don't think you can say that climate change caused this massive cavity underneath the glacier. In fact, I think it's 100% natural made. And as a result, it could be nature's intention to have this glacier to be completely melted. Who knows? Great, let's get into the next and final fact. Accelerated ice loss. As I mentioned in the previous sections, scientists are extremely worried about this glacier. They've measured and researched that it has lost so much ice in the last 30 years. In fact, since 2000, it has a net loss of over 1,000 billion tons of ice. The amount of ice lost has doubled over the last 30 years. Annually, the Thwaites Glacier is losing about 50 billion tons of ice, more than it receives from snowfall, meaning that it has a net loss of 50 billion tons of ice every season. This is extremely worrying to the scientific community because of the massive impacts the glacier will have to the rest of the world. Think about how much population and city destructions it will cause when that 25 inches of seawater rises around the world. No one really knows why it is losing ice faster than ever, but of course there are people saying it's due to climate change and global warming. But one thing's for sure, there's no stopping the ice loss. It is continuing at an accelerated pace and will eventually completely melt into the oceans. Alright, that's it for my video today. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.